Welcome back everybody to my 5th episode of properly doing auto body repairs at home. If you haven't seen the previous 4 episodes, I'd recommend checking those out. I'll throw links down in the description. In this episode, we're going to get into some blocking primer and just doing the rest of the finish sanding on the panel. Let's get to it. So we got our primer on Tuesday night. It's now Friday night, so it's been about 3 days for the primer to dry here. As you can see, it's nice and hard. Won't scratch my fingernails or anything like that. So now we're going to do our final prep work here and hopefully be ready to spray tomorrow. Ideally, I want to spray tomorrow mid-afternoon sometime. So we're going to start off with an initial block of 320, just very light. Then we're going to bump up to 400, 600, and 800 for our final sand. I will not be sealing this at all. I don't have any sealer for it. So for that reason, we have to make sure we don't get any burn throughs. If we do get any burn throughs, I'm going to have to squirt a little primer on it tonight, which I really don't want to do. So we'll be really careful with that. Again, these we'll probably just hit these guys with 400 on the DA and then 800 or 600, 800. See how I'm feeling. There's a couple spots where I'll do a light block first. On really curvy plastic panels like this, it's not always necessary to get too crazy with actual blocking, just because there's so many curves going on. Nothing on a plastic panel is really all that straight to begin with. For the most part, there are exceptions. So we'll get these prepped, that prepped, and then yeah, do our finish sanding after that. So I'm going to quickly mask my body line here, just so that we keep consistent lines between our bumper and our quarter panel. So this I more or less just have balanced in place. It's not clipped in or anything. The brackets aren't on there. But one thing I wanted to make note of here is, like, you see, I didn't spray right up to my tape in any of these areas. Like, there is going to be a little bit of a line there just from my overspray. I did get a little bit close there as well, though. You could have masked further, but again, we're trying to keep it small. This is going to be a really cozy blend for me, but we're going to do our best to make that happen. And aside from right here, I didn't spray up to my tape. A little by here. Point is, on all the visible panels, I did not spray up to my tape with the primer, because you always want a soft edge. And I know it was hard to tell from my videos because I had a bunch of different angles and stuff, but each coat of primer went a little bit further than the last, sort of covering the overspray. So my first coat was, I think, to about there. Second coat, second coat and third coat. So each coat goes a little bit further. That way you're not getting like one buildup where you're going to have to sand down like a really high edge just because you finished every coat there. So yeah, we'll get these lines masked up quickly. There is a little body line down here that I lost a little bit with the metal work, but we'll be able to bring it back here a little bit with the blocking. So I find if you stretch the tape straight slightly, so I'm actually like pulling on it quite a bit, that'll let you pull around on an inner curve like this, like where the curve's on the inside of your tape. You can get special measurement tools and stuff that do make your life a little bit easier for stuff like this. I like to think I've got a pretty calibrated eye. That's an end's kind of about right there, but we'll tape it to there, and we can always just stop where we're sanding. So we'll just tape one side for now, and then at least we'll have the reference for doing the opposite side when it comes to it. And this guy. And this body line on the bumper actually doesn't go very far, just kind of like so. And now I'm just going to take a razor blade. Separate like so. So I'll set this guy aside now and get blocking on the body. And again, we're going to use my variety of blocks. And again, using that 45-degree, well, roughly 35-40 degree one direction, and then 35-40 degree in the other direction. Sorry guys, I was a dum-dum and forgot to plug my phone in while I was filming there, and I knew the battery was dead. I have the cable ready to go, forgot to plug it in, So my time-lapse cut a little bit short there. As you can see, I've got a nice big burn through here, right after I said I was gonna try not to burn through. So what happened is I should have taken the metalwork a little bit further, brought my filler back a little bit further potentially as well. I knew I was probably gonna have some issues here. You could kind of see in primer there's a bit of a low spot in here, and that's what I was chasing. I was trying to get rid of that low spot by knocking down the sort of high spot next to it, if that makes sense. So there was still a little bit of a wobble there, so I'm gonna have to just slam a quick couple coats of primer on here, and then keep the garage nice and hot tonight so I can block that tomorrow. So I'm gonna slam those on. I finished blocking down here just to make sure that I wouldn't have any issues, and down here it wasn't as bad, so this all turned out quite nice. So I'm gonna slam some quick primer on here, we'll prep our bumper ends, and then do all of our finish sanding once our primer's on here. Okay, so reason we're using a gray scotch. Number one, our clear coat at Imperium 2K Euro Performance calls for either 1000 dry or a gray scotch. Dry and wet sandpaper, very important when you're doing something like this, because 1000 dry is going to be the equivalent to about 12 to 1500 wet. Wet sanding is more aggressive than dry sanding, contrary to what you would think. So make sure you're following the TDS for the product. So in this case, we're going to be dry with a gray scuff pad. And the reason for that is that this is a candy, Ford's Ruby Red. So I'm just going to get this little wipe here. So if this were a normal two-stage paint, so you have your base coat and your clear coat, this would come up white. However, because this is a candy, as you can see, it's really hard to see on camera, but that is actually a pink. There you go, you kind of see there? See if I can get it on there. It's hard to tell, but it is pink coming off. And that's because the clear itself is tinted. And that's what gives it this color, and that's why we'll be spraying this as a tri-stage. So we'll have a base coat, a mid coat, and then a clear coat. So because of that, if you sand too far, you're going to be disturbing the clear coat that's on there. So by using a gray scuff pad, we'll be taking off the minimum amount that we can and still giving our clear something to adhere to. So when we're prepping a panel like this, we want to make sure it's an even and uniform sort of matte finish to it. We don't want any gloss left to it. So it's always hard to tell with these scuff pads too, because they leave a lot of dust behind. So as you can see in the middle here, so you can see like we have gloss there, but nothing in the middle. So that's sort of optimal for what we want when we're scuffing here. So we're going to be scuffing the full panel, no clear coat blend nonsense that hack shops will do. I say that as I'm masking around a window, but that's besides the point. So we'll be coming right up to here. That's our panel break. We'll roll an edge down in here. Our little panel that pops in here covers right up to that edge, so we'll scuff sort of into that inner edge there. Around the doors, we'll just be rolling off there. Up top here, got a nice soft edge there. And we'll be double masking here. So what I mean by that is I'll be masking once to prep, peeling that off, and then I'll be masking again to actually paint. So as you can see, there's a little sort of flap in there. Let me grab my fiber stick here. So you can pull these if you want. A lot of them are double-sided taped on though, and that's not something I want to deal with. This one may not actually be. However, it'll be a little more work for myself, but I'm going to do it this way because I know I'm not going to damage any clips. So as you can see, there's sort of a, aside from that leaf there. So there's a little flap here, so I'm getting my, so I want to be in underneath that flap is where I'm going to lay my tape. That way I can get my scuff pad in there. And that way any clear we blow in, so we'll be masking it the same way to paint, any clear we spray over that will blow right in behind and underneath that little lip there. And that's the same thing we're going to try to do around this molding, going around the window here. Got our panel mostly blend prepped now. I'll go over that tomorrow with some wax and grease remover before we start masking, just to make sure everywhere's peachy, because guaranteed there are going to be some edges and spots that I missed. Like I said earlier, like it does get quite dusty, and that dust spreads really uniformly, and it's kind of hard to tell if there's any glossy spots left, so it's good to give it a blow and a wipe, make sure everywhere looks good. That glare you're catching in the light there, actually those spots are dull. It's just sort of the way the camera's picking things up. There are a few little areas though that could use a once over here. Fur along my edges with the doors here. Usually if I'm, so I'll be popping the doors open to scuff these edges. Usually I will mask on the inside of the door, or inside the door frame. So I kind of around here. However, for these, it's going to be so little dust because I'm just going to be doing more or less 1 or 2 swipes back and forth along here just to give us a nice edge to roll off of. Well, that contrast is not working well for me there. It's looking like a ghost. So in this case, I'll just be giving it a light scuff there. I will be doing a quick vacuum in the vehicle afterwards as well for any dust that does sneak in. So gonna call it a night here. It's a little after midnight. I worked at 12 yesterday, sprayed over 10 gallons of product today. It was a busy day, so we'll pick this up in the morning. We should have a little bit more work. It'll be a quick block on here, a little bit more prep work on our bumper ends, and then we're ready to mask. So next morning now, I've had the heat cranked out in here for the last couple hours, so still a little chilly, but warming up. We'll do a quick block on our primer here that we sprayed last night, finish our blend prep on our bumper caps, and then we'll do really good cleanup in here, get rid of all the dust, probably open up the garage door, give everything a good blow, and then we'll go from there. So we're all blocked with 320 now. I was able to work out that low spot. Everything's a nice smooth transition here into the curve down. So now we're just gonna go over everything, block it with 400. And same thing, just doing our cross hatching. Ideally with a repair like this, you want to be blocking sort of a good distance into the non-repaired area. I'm not doing that here simply because I want to keep this area as untouched as possible. We will go over it. We'll be hitting it with the 400 here, and then 600 and 800 as well. However, 600 and 800, we're just going to hand sand. I'll show you how I do that. So we're just going to block it with 400. Not necessary, but I like doing it for the peace of mind that everything's nice and flat, and it's got to be hit with 400 anyway, so might as well do it with the block. So we've got our blocking done with 400. I'm happy with where we are. So now we're gonna hand sand with 600 and 800, and then we'll hit it with the gray scotch. But the way we're gonna do this so that we don't cause any gouges, so it's called finger sanding. When you start doing this, you start getting gouges where your fingers are putting pressure. So what I'm gonna do is just take my used gray scotch there, just kind of wrap my sandpaper around it like so. And then by doing this, I can get away with not having to buy another thing of sandpaper, foam back sandpaper for 600 and 800. So I'm just going to straight line sand horizontally for this. Just go over, just removing my 400 sand scratches. So I'm going to throw my mask on. Throw you guys again on a time lapse here. We'll just hand sand this quickly with 600 and 800. Go over it with the gray scotch. And then we'll just blow everything off and make sure we are good to go. So I'm just going to do a real quick scuff here. Along this edge here. So as you can see, when we shut our door, good idea to have a look at where your weather strip comes to, and right here it's like in like maybe 3/16 of an inch from that edge. So I'm just going to sort of get my scuff pad just around the edge there, and then sort of lock in with my hand where I want it to go, and that way I'll get a nice consistent line along there that we're going to roll off of with our masking tape. Beautiful. Just like that. And like I said, that's the reason I'm not going to bother masking off the whole interior of the door here. There's next to no dust when we're doing this. So I'll kind of have to do this with both doors open to get this spot in between them here. Beautiful. And then on this edge here, where the quarter mates the back door, I didn't get into this edge at all. So I'm just going to go in, sort of same thing we did along the drip rail there, along the roof rail. Just going to sort of come down maybe 3/16 of an inch, if that, because this edge we're just going to be rolling our tape off of this way. Just going to leave us a nice, nice soft edge there. And doesn't take much force here. You don't want to go too far. It's really easy to burn through on edges like this, so that's something we obviously don't want to do. Perfect. with the prep work done, that's the end of today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. In my next video, I'm going to be going over how I set up my garage to be able to spray in it. We'll see you next time.